I have a Rinnai tankless water heater RU80i. The diagram that came with my unit shows dip switch settings for RU80i/LPG. However, the illustration provided for the water flow sensor assembly does not appear to be the flow sensor that I have in my RU80i. Another diagram found online shows an illustration for a JS199 sensor, which I believe is the correct illustration. The problem is, the dip switch settings for RU80i/LPG and JS199W/LPG are not the same at switch number 1. I live at elevation 0, i.e., less than 2,000 feet. I want to order a new flow sensor, but I don't know what part numbers to order or where to order parts from. My question is, what are the correct dip switch settings? What part number do I need to order, and from whom do I order Rinnai parts?
Hello, I'm Michelle and I'm a moderator for this topic. We have been working with our professionals to try to help you with your question. Sometimes it may take a bit of time to find the right fit. I was checking to see if you had already found your answer or if you still needing assistance from one of our professionals. Please let me know if you wish to continue waiting or if you would like for us to close your question. Also remember that JustAnswer has a multitude of categories to help you with all your needs from pet to legal. Thank you, Michelle, moderator.
This problem was previously discussed with Mike R., Plumber. He appeared to be interested and well-informed. But tankless water heaters are complicated and difficult to diagnose. RU80i is a Rinnai model number, but the meaning of JS199 and or JS199W is unknown. This question requires identification, by sight, of a Rinnai flow sensor or flow control assembly. I posted some photos, but it may take some time for an expert to sort this out. I would like to wait for a response.
Hello, thank you. XXXXXXXXXX continue to look for a professional to assist you. Please let me know if I can be of any further assistance while you wait. Best, Michelle, moderator.
Hi, I'm Mike and I have 20+ years of experience as a plumber. I'll be glad to assist you today. So you remove the sensor and I wonder a couple things about it. Does it look damaged or cracked? I wonder if replacing it is the right way to go. Was there any water leaking from it? Any wetness around it? If none of those is the case, I would say to reinstall it and make sure that all of the wiring harnesses are pushed in all the way. If the sensor wire especially was not pushed in all the way, it would also explain why it only worked for a short time after it was replaced. I find it hard to believe there is a faulty part in a Rinnai unless it was not connected to a power surge protector and there was a power surge that damaged it. I would hate for you to replace a part that doesn't need it.
Mike, thanks for your help. The flow sensor I now have is the second sensor to fail. The first one worked on and off for 18 months. But the second one failed within 24 hours. I see no signs of damage whatsoever. It's very clean, looks brand new. A repairman removed the first sensor and told me the impeller/turbine would not spin. I find that to be the case with the second sensor, but I don't know how much force it takes to make it spin. My research suggests this sensor is the same sensor used in a jacuzzi tankless water heater, model JS199W, which may require a change of dip switch settings. The sensor I have is believed to be a Rinnai XXXXXXXXX, but that may not be the case. My immediate question is, what make and model number actually applies to the sensor I have in hand? The top, white, part says Rinnai Z823. And the lower, brass, part says ZC10. The markings are slightly blurred.
If you look on the inside cover, is there not a parts list with part numbers? Item number 401.
I have an illustrated parts list which shows item 403. That's the part the repairman said was not working, but he called it a flow sensor. I thought he was talking about item 401. I see now the defective part is part #XXXXX. Item 413 is missing altogether, but that appears to be a non-essential item. Is it possible to replace the water flow turbine, item 461, which the repairman says doesn't spin? It appears I need to replace all or part of item 403, but I don't know which items should or can be replaced. As I understand it, part #XXXXX refers to item 403, i.e., the entire bypass flow assembly. But item 403 consists of at least 3 components, i.e., the bottom, brass, part, the top, white, part, and the turbine, item 461. See illustrated parts list below.
There has to be something else wrong if a flow sensor has gone bad 3 times on this unit. Right now we know that replacing the flow sensor fixes the problem temporarily. I still suspect your flow. The minimum water flow is 0.4 GPM, but that number is XXXXX exact. If you are close to that, I would include it as a suspect. Have you confirmed the dip switches are in the correct position? You do not have a recirculation system, do you? Forgive me if I ask a question or two again. It has been a bit of a long conversation. I do not mean to be redundant. You have well water, right? Why is your flow so low? I suggest change the flow sensor that has been replaced in the past. I suspect also that the wrong one was installed last time. Fix your pressure and flow issue and see if that is what the issue is. I think the flow could be the issue, as temperature and sediment affect the flow requirement.
It may help to do this by the numbers. 1. The original flow sensor failed on 2 or 3 occasions, but basically, it worked for 18 months until late November. 2. The second sensor, the one I have now, failed completely within 24 hours. 3. I have a water well, but flow at the well is several gallons per minute. 4. My pressure switch is set to 50 pounds per square inch maximum. 5. I have a tank-type, whole-house sediment filter, photo, below, which is set to backflush at 24-hour intervals. 6. Flow within the house is slightly above 1 GPM. 7. The dip switches are known to be in the correct position. 8. I don't have a recirculation system. 9. The house is plumed with 3/4 of an inch PVC and CPVC. 10. I have a sediment problem, but except for a trace amount of fine silt, the sediment filter seems to work as intended. 11. I have a bypass valve on the sediment filter, but bypassing the filter has no visible effect on the flow rate. 12. I'm not sure why flow is high at the well and low at the point of use, but I assume it's because the supply lines are smaller than 3/4 of an inch at the point of use. 13. I ordered a Rusco 100 mesh sediment trapper for the Rinnai water heater. It should arrive this week. 14. I plan to order a third flow sensor, if I can find one, and install it along with the Rusco filter. 15. Increased flow is desired, but I'm not sure what I can do to improve the flow rate. 16. My Rinnai installer says sand is the cause of the problem, but except for some trace amounts of fine silt, I don't see enough sand to cause a problem of this magnitude. 17. My home was built in 2001. The flow rate has always been slow but more or less adequate, i.e., not much higher than 1 GPM.
The flow from the pump does not matter. Your diaphragm tank, the blue tank, may be the issue. This is why the flow from the pump does not measure your flow capacity. The pump pumps until your diaphragm tank is full. The tank has a diaphragm in it that is pressurized on the outside with air and pushes the water out to subsidize your water pressure. When the pressure reaches below 30 pounds, the pump turns on and starts to fill the tank. If the diaphragm is broken, then you are only using the pressure from the pump, and this is not good for the pump. That means that the pump turns on and off every time water is used. Not good for the pump. You may need another tank. Your pressure is not good enough. Imagine that your shower head is rated to use up to at minimum 1.75 GPM and you are only getting at best 1 GPM. Release some air from the tank and see if water or air comes out. If air comes out, read the tank and see what the pressure is supposed to be. Test the pressure and pump it up with a bicycle pump to the required pressure. If water comes out, then replace the tank. Larger is better. It is extremely unusual for there to be any fault with a Rinnai, and I refuse to believe that there is that much fault with the unit itself. The flow is still an issue. It can be fixed. Good luck, we're all counting on you. Mike.
I had to release some air to test for water in the diaphragm tank, but no water came out. The diaphragm appears to be okay, but pressure settings may be an issue. The diaphragm tank, after the test for water, shows 44 pounds per square inch. The pump startup kicks in at 36 pounds per square inch, and cuts out at 54 pounds per square inch. Do I need to reset these pressure limits? I meant to tell you I have 2 faucets in the yard that are connected directly to the well. These outside faucets always have good pressure and produce several gallons per minute. But the inside faucets appear to have flow limits built in, i.e., not much over 1 GPM. Is that normal for the type of plumbing system I have? I ordered a Rusco sediment trapper, 3/4 of an inch 100 STSSF, for the tankless water heater, but I now plan to install it on the house side of the large sediment filter tank. I believe it will handle the whole house, including the Rinnai water heater. I would appreciate your thoughts on that.
No water coming from the tank is very good. If water came out, that would be the diaphragm was broken. Measure the water from either some outside faucet starter on the house or your tub spout. Measure the heart and the cold and see what it is with your gallons per minute. To really assess what kind of filter you would need, you would have to test the water first. Test for hardness and other types of things that may be a problem. You can get a test kit at Lowe's for about $25. The faucet should have a capacity for a minimum of 1.75 gallons per minute. They are not a really good place to measure your flow. I suspect the issue with the water pressure is somewhere on one of the shutoffs. If it is a gate valve, then it may have failed and just need replacing. Sorry for all the typos. I am a victim of autocorrect.
My inside the house faucet problem appears to be an issue of flow as opposed to pressure. I get less than 1.75 GPM at inside faucets. Maybe I should reset the maximum pressure from 50 to 60 pounds per square inch. The Rusco 3/4 of an inch sediment trapper/filter I ordered is said to have a maximum flow capacity of 25 GPM. I assume this is high enough to handle everything, including the Rinnai tankless water heater. I will measure both hot and cold flow. But first, I need to reinstall the Rinnai flow sensor. I'm sure the heater won't turn on, but I assume I don't actually need hot water to compare cold flow with hot flow.
No, you do not. Make sure you test the flow at something without an aerator in it. Make sure you push all of your wiring harnesses in and make sure they are all making a connection. Who knows, that might be the only problem. MICAR.41618.58353471006.
Flow tests for inside fixtures show 1.5 GPM cold and 1.2 GPM hot. I assume the reduced flow for hot water has something to do PVC versus CPVC. I called a different plumbing company. They say the flow sensor needs to be replaced again. They agreed to call Rinnai for additional information, and hopefully, another flow sensor. At any rate, I believe you answered the original question. The Rinnai parted issue is called A. Water flow servo and sensor assembly, no. XXXXXXXXX. I suspect sand is not the root of this problem. Nevertheless, I'm going to add a whole house filter to augment my tank-type sediment filter. Thanks much for your advice, interest and patience. I believe there's a simple explanation for the Rinnai flow sensor problem, we just don't know what it is.
When you put it back in, did you check to make sure that all the connectors were pushed in?
Visual inspection shows all connections to be intact, i.e., nothing is obviously loose. I also tightened all ground connections that I could see. More likely than not, the flow sensor is the centerpiece of this problem. Apparently, the servo mechanism, the white part, is connected to a turbine, the brass part, by a shaft that passes through a watertight seal, see photos. At last report, the turbine was said to be not spinning. A friction problem arises if the seal is too tight, and a water intrusion problem arises if the seal is too loose. This suggests a delicate balance of acceptable limits at the watertight seal. Is it possible a well water factor, for example, microsilt or pH value, could explain the flow sensor malfunction?
If you had very hard water, maybe. The most common, though, it's simply connectors not pushed in all the way. Visually may not be able to tell. Like you said before. Gotta be something simple.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit JustAnswer.com/YTHI.